I was cutting carrots in our small, dimly lit kitchen. Ryan sat on the couch, phone in hand, barely glancing my way. I tried to talk about groceries, but he just scrolled. Then he looked up and dropped the bomb. "You're just dead weight now, a burden. I can't believe you just allowed them fire you," as if I had control over it. The words sliced through me. I froze, knife still in my hand. My cheeks burned. For a second I thought I misheard him, but his cold stare confirmed it. "Dead weight?" I whispered, my throat tight. He shrugged. "Well, you lost your job. We're barely getting by. I'm tired of supporting you. It's like you're dragging me down." I felt numb, like the air got punched out of my lungs. The scraping of my knife against the cutting board stopped. My vision blurred with tears I refused to let fall. I wanted to scream, but my pride held me back. I tossed the carrots into the pan, turned off the stove, and walked to our bedroom. Ryan didn't follow. My heart pounded, a painful rhythm echoing in my ears. His words replayed, "Dead weight." It felt final, like he'd branded me. I shut the bedroom door, trembling. My entire world had changed in one cruel sentence. That night I pretended nothing happened. We ate dinner in awkward silence. My fork shook, but I forced a half smile, as if ignoring the blow would lessen its sting. Ryan barely looked up from his plate. Later in bed, I couldn't sleep. My mind spun. I used to be the marketing director at a top firm. I paid half the rent, half the bills. Now unemployment checks were a joke. My identity felt stripped away. I scrolled through old work emails, reading praises from my boss. "Great job, Leah," back when I felt valued. Warm tears blurred the screen. Ryan's insult rang in my head. I kept hearing "dead weight" like an echo in an empty canyon. Then I remembered my side hustle site. It was an online store for homemade wellness products. Natural soaps, aroma blends, little self-care kits. I started it ages ago, hoping to build something of my own. I'd abandoned it when life got too busy. I logged in, heart heavy but curious. To my surprise, there were a few new orders. Nothing huge, but real sales. A spark of hope replaced my sadness for a moment. Suddenly, I felt awake. Maybe I wasn't done yet. I flashed back to the day I first dreamed of launching my own brand. I was at my old job, eating a quick sandwich at my desk, doodling logo ideas for Leah's Calm Corner. I remember the rush of excitement, the feeling that I was meant to create something mine. Those thoughts faded when my schedule got insane. Meetings, deadlines, traveling for conferences. My side hustles stayed small. A random order here, a curious customer there. I never had time to truly grow it. Now, the memory burned bright. My heart beat faster as I scanned my site. 5 new orders, each for a handcrafted gift set. Not a fortune, but it meant people cared about what I made. I stared at the numbers, adrenaline building. It reminded me of who I used to be. Capable, creative, unstoppable. I started brainstorming. Maybe I could restart this, turn the tiny spark into a real flame. My fingers itched to type out new product ideas, but I was also scared. Ryan had made me doubt myself. Then I remembered his sneer, "dead weight." My jaw tightened. I would not let that label define me. The next step? I had to keep this quiet for now. While Ryan slept, I snuck into our garage, which doubled as a storage space. I dug out boxes of essential oils, empty jars, leftover packaging. Everything smelled of lavender and potential. My heart raced as I carefully arranged them, making a plan to restart production. During the day, I acted normal. I cleaned, cooked, acted like the docile wife. But at night and when Ryan was at work, I was alive. I printed shipping labels, created new social posts, and tested new product variations. I watched YouTube tutorials on boosting e-commerce sales. My brain lit up like a switchboard of possibilities. Ryan never asked questions. He figured I was binge-watching shows on my laptop. Fine. Let him think that. With each new sale, I felt a thrill. Sure, these were small wins, but it was mine. I started seeing decent traffic from a short video I posted weeks ago. People liked my brand's story. Natural products from a passionate creator. Orders trickled in steadily. Inside, I felt a growing purpose again. But every time I saw Ryan, I remembered his eyes rolling at the idea of me wasting my time. I refused to let him crush my spark. My sales and my determination were about to explode. A week later, Ryan cornered me in the living room. He had spreadsheets and bank statements printed out. The tension in his jaw spoke before he did. "We're drowning in bills, Leah. We need to cut back." I nodded quietly, pretending to understand his frustration. Truthfully, I did. Money was tight. But I also knew my hidden hustle was doing better every day. He sighed dramatically. You could work at the cafe down the street. At least that's something. I swallowed my anger. I'll look into it, I said softly. I didn't tell him I had a plan that might beat any minimum wage job. No point. He'd only mock me. That night, I took $500 of my old savings, money I'd squirreled away from my final paycheck, and invested in better supplies for my store. I added new product lines, improved the packaging, and scheduled a few targeted ads. I fell asleep at 3 a.m., phone in my hand. When I woke up, I saw a notification. One of my TikTok videos was going viral. 20,000 views and counting, a flood of comments, curious buyers. Orders were pouring in, and it was only the beginning. I nearly jumped out of bed. My eyes took a moment to adjust to the bright screen. 24,000 views. My phone buzzed nonstop. Comments asked for product links, more details, shipping options. My site's orders doubled overnight. Ryan was already gone to work, so I rushed to the garage. I began packing boxes like a machine. I ran out of shipping tape halfway through. My mind buzzed with excitement and panic. This was bigger than anything I'd handled before. By noon, I had a message request on Instagram. An influencer with over 1 million followers wanted to collaborate. She liked my brand's aesthetic and wanted an affiliate deal. I felt my heart skip. Influencer marketing was huge. My cheeks hurt from smiling. But physically, I was exhausted, sweat dripping down my back as I lugged boxes to my car. On the way to the post office, I felt a wave of relief. This was real money, not just pocket change. Something was happening. Ryan texted me, "We need to talk about money tonight." I glanced at my phone and shook my head. If only he knew. This collaboration could change everything, or reveal my secret. I was in the garage again, surrounded by shipping boxes. Tape screeched as I sealed a big order for a corporate wellness event. Suddenly, Ryan walked in, arms folded. He looked around, eyebrows raised. "What is this? A hobby Etsy phase?" My heart hammered. I forced a casual laugh, just selling a few things. I tried not to sound defensive. Ryan rolled his eyes. "You're spending money on supplies when we can barely pay rent?" I felt the anger under my skin, but I kept calm. "I'm covering the costs. It's nothing crazy." He brushed a box with the back of his hand. "You know, this won't pay the bills, right? You should focus on a real job." My phone pinged with a sale notification. $1,300. Right in that moment. I fought to keep my face neutral. I silenced the phone, slid it into my back pocket, and shrugged. "Sure," I said, as if uninterested. Ryan left, shaking his head. I breathed a long sigh, frustration mixing with satisfaction. He had no clue I just pulled in more in a single sale than I used to make in a day at my old job. The influencer deal was about to launch. I wasn't ready for the chaos. The influencer sent me a contract, a 30-day affiliate agreement. She'd promote my products in her wellness vlogs, and I'd pay her a commission for every sale. I signed it that afternoon, a giddy, nervous flutter in my stomach. When the first post went live, I watched my phone like a hawk. Within minutes, comments poured in. "This looks amazing. Where has this brand been all my life?" My order count climbed so fast it felt unreal. Ryan noticed I was always busy. He'd complain that I was too tired for movie nights, or I'd miss dinner with his friends. I'd offer half-truths. "I have some tasks." He'd roll his eyes. "Tasks? What tasks?" One night, he confronted me about my late hours. "You can't keep ignoring me, Leah. Is this some vanity project?" I swallowed my anger. "No, I'm just working on something important." He snorted. "Working on what? A dream that's not paying our rent?" I stayed silent, refusing to be baited into an argument. The affiliate post soared. My brand was trending in niche wellness circles. An email pinged in my inbox, an invitation to speak on a popular podcast about my sudden success. The podcast recording was nerve-wracking. My voice shook at first, but the host's enthusiasm boosted my confidence. We talked about my vision, my passion for natural products, and how my small business was gaining traction online. I felt proud, like I was finally owning my story. When the episode aired, I listened with Ryan in the living room. At first he seemed curious, but as soon as he heard me being praised, "Leah's brand is blowing up," his face hardened. That night, after it ended, he wouldn't make eye contact. I tried to talk about it. "So, what did you think?" He shrugged, tension in his jaw. "You sound like you're pretending to be some kind of CEO." My heart pounded with disappointment. I'd hoped for some support, or at least a simple "congrats." But all I saw was resentment. The sad thing? I was starting not to care. I was too focused on the business. A few days later, the pod hit #1 in the entrepreneurship category. My sales spiked again. A wave of excitement crashed over me. I finally decided to make it official, register my business, and open a new bank account. Ryan had no idea. Registering my LLC felt like crossing a finish line. Or maybe it was the starting line. I did it all online, double-checking forms. I wasn't just a hobby seller. I was now a legitimate business owner. The numbers were staggering. By that week's end, I'd crossed $30,000 in revenue. My mind buzzed with possibilities. A business credit card came next, along with spreadsheets and real accounting. I felt a rush every time I logged in to see my earnings. Yet, I kept it all hidden. The secrecy weighed on me, but I knew Ryan wouldn't celebrate my success. He'd want control, or mock it. So I told no one, not even my best friend, Naomi, who usually knew everything about me. Late one night, I got a DM from a venture firm. They'd noticed my brand on social media and wanted to discuss potential mentorship and scaling strategies. My jaw dropped. Was this real? I'd heard about VCs but never thought they'd care about my little store. I felt my pulse quicken. I wrote back, playing it cool. On the inside, I was screaming with excitement. I had a call with them next week. This could change my life. I jumped on Zoom with the venture firm's rep, a woman named Sarah. She praised my branding and viral traction. She said they weren't ready to fund me outright, but they wanted to mentor me, help me strategize. My head spun with excitement. This was bigger than I'd ever imagined. After that call, I dove into my business plan. Sarah suggested I hire help, free myself from the grunt work. So I found a virtual assistant to handle customer emails and a small fulfillment center for shipping. It felt surreal delegating tasks I used to do alone in my garage at 2 a.m. Meanwhile, Ryan told his friends I was still unemployed, living off him. They'd pity me at barbecues and casual hangouts. Some friend even asked, "So how's job hunting?" I just smiled and said, "Working on something else." Internally, I laughed. I was far from idle. Every day, my brand was growing. I watched the analytics, more visitors, more conversions, more influence. I felt powerful, in control. Ryan had no clue. Or maybe he just refused to see it. My resentment grew when I overheard him belittle me again to someone on the phone. I was headed to the kitchen for water when I heard Ryan talking to his sister on speakerphone. I paused by the door, feeling uneasy. "She's still figuring her life out," he said with a sigh. "I'm carrying everything. It's exhausting." My stomach churned. I wanted to storm in, flash my bank statements in his face. But I held back. I needed to keep building quietly, letting the success speak for itself. Confrontation would only bring more arguments. That evening, after Ryan left to meet friends, I scrolled online and found a female founder pitch competition. The prize was $500,000 in capital and major exposure. The deadline was in 2 days. My chest tightened. Could I do this? I decided to go for it. I'd stay up all night if I had to. My brand was worthy. My growth was real. So I applied, writing a concise but passionate pitch. Submitting it felt like sending my heart into the universe. I fantasized about winning, about proving everyone wrong. Especially Ryan. I could almost taste the victory. The next morning I got an email. I made it to the pitch round. Game on. I stared at the acceptance email, my hands trembling. The pitch competition was in a month, just enough time to prepare a polished deck. My brand might finally step onto a bigger stage. I could practically see the judges' faces lighting up when they heard my sales numbers. But as I worked on my pitch deck, Ryan hovered. He asked, "What are you doing?" I minimized the screen. "Nothing important." He grunted and walked away, suspicious. Days later, he demanded we cut more expenses, even talking about moving to a cheaper apartment. I just nodded, forcing my face neutral. In truth, money was already flowing into my separate account. I wanted to laugh at the irony, but I wasn't ready to reveal anything. Nerves and excitement flooded me. This competition could bring major investors, serious capital. I stayed up reworking slides, practicing my pitch in front of the mirror, imagining standing on stage telling my story. The big day neared. I could barely contain my anxiety. Meanwhile, Ryan kept complaining about our finances, acting like we were on the brink of disaster. My secrecy was about to collide with his demands. Something had to give. Ryan found my pitch deck on the laptop one afternoon. I came out of the shower to see him sitting at the desk, reading every slide, face dark with anger. My stomach flipped. "You're planning a business behind my back?" he shouted. "All those nights in the garage, it wasn't just a hobby?" I tightened the towel around me. "Ryan, it's my side hustle. It's been making real money." He scrolled furiously. "Where did the initial cash come from? You used our accounts?" My voice shook, but I forced clarity. "I used my last paycheck and the sales revenue, not our joint money." He stood, eyes blazing. "You lied to me. That's basically stealing, Leah." My chest tightened. I realized how twisted his logic was. This was my work, my hustle, my own separate bank account. He didn't care about fairness, only control. I folded my arms. "It's my business, and it's profitable." His face twisted, veins popping in his neck. "I can't believe you. We're a married couple. You can't do this alone." His next words stunned me. "You will hand over control or else." Ryan's ultimatum rang loud in my ears. "If we're married, it's our business. Either let me in or this marriage is over." I stared at him, heat rushing to my cheeks. For months he'd mocked me, dismissed me. Now he wanted ownership. His arrogance made my skin crawl. He leaned forward, voice thick with anger. "We need to run it together. I'll handle the financials. You can do the creative stuff." I felt every muscle tense. This was my moment to decide if I'd keep protecting his ego or protect my dream. My mind flashed through all his belittling comments. "Dead weight. You're not contributing. It's a waste of time." I took a shaky breath. Then maybe it should be over. His eyes went wide, like I'd just thrown ice water on him. He stood there, stunned, mouth opening and closing with no sound. I felt an odd calm wash over me. "I'm done letting you belittle me. This business is mine. If you can't handle that, we're done." Silence filled the air. My heart pounded, but my resolve was solid. I wondered if I just shattered everything, or finally set myself free. Within a week, I moved out. I packed 2 suitcases, a few boxes of personal items, and all my business materials. My best friend Naomi opened her spare room to me without question. I told Ryan I needed space. He didn't try to stop me. I spent the first night at Naomi's place crying on her couch, phone buzzing with orders. It was surreal, my marriage crumbling while my business boomed. I felt both heartbreak and exhilaration. Ryan started sending texts that whiplashed between guilt-tripping and begging. One read, "You're ruining us." Another read, "Let's fix this." I ignored them, focusing on scaling my brand, finalizing deals, and preparing for the pitch competition. Meanwhile, my store hit 100K in monthly revenue. It was insane. I got more messages from investors who'd heard about my success. One asked if I was open to acquisition. I blinked at the email, heart racing. That morning, I poured coffee in Naomi's kitchen, tears of relief in my eyes. I was free from Ryan's negativity, and my brand was thriving in ways I'd only dreamed. Naomi pressed me to share everything. I was finally ready to talk. Naomi and I sat on her couch, my laptop propped on a throw pillow. She looked at my screen, eyes widening. "Leah, this is huge. You made all this in secret?" I nodded, tears brimming. I was afraid to tell anyone because Ryan kept tearing me down. I felt so small. She frowned, anger flashing. "He called you dead weight? You built an empire behind his back, and he treated you like baggage?" My throat tightened. He never believed in me. He just wanted to control me. Naomi shook her head. "That's horrible, but look at what you've done. You've got this thriving business. You're not dead weight. You're unstoppable." We raised our coffee mugs in a quiet toast, though my hands shook. A moment later, my email chimed. Naomi raised an eyebrow. I opened it and gasped. It was an acquisition offer from a wellness conglomerate, wanting to discuss a possible purchase of my entire brand. My mouth went dry, reading the preliminary numbers. Naomi's eyes flicked from the screen to me. "You could be set for life." I stared at the figure. $12 million. Was this real, or was I dreaming? I scheduled a call with the conglomerate. Their rep was direct. "We see major potential in your brand. We'd like to propose a $12 million acquisition for majority ownership. You'd stay on as creative director, plus royalties." I nearly dropped my phone. $12 million? After the call ended, I sat stunned on Naomi's couch. She read my expression. "Good news?" I pressed a hand to my forehead. "They offered $12 million. That's 8 figures. Naomi squealed and hugged me, but I just stared off, my mind racing. If I accepted, I'd be giving up full control, but I'd gain financial freedom and a role at a major company. The offer expired in 30 days, so I had to do due diligence fast. A part of me was terrified. Another part felt unstoppable. I deserved this, after everything. I thought of Ryan, who belittled me. Had he stuck around, he'd be celebrating right now, or trying to grab credit. My phone buzzed with another text from him. I miss you. Let's talk. I stared at the screen, the irony too sharp to ignore. Ryan was about to find out how massive this secret really was. Word got out somehow. Maybe social media chatter, maybe rumors. But Ryan definitely caught wind of the acquisition talk. He showed up at Naomi's door unannounced, looking haggard. I messed up, he said, eyes darting nervously. I was stressed about money. I didn't mean the things I said. Naomi folded her arms, glaring. I just stared at him, speechless. I remembered all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep, the times he sneered at me or dismissed my dreams. Now he wanted back in? He tried to embrace me, but I stepped back. My heart pounded with anger and a strange sadness. Why now, Ryan? Because I'm suddenly successful? Where was this apology before? He shook his head. I was just scared. If you'd told me about how much the business was making, I would have supported you. We can build it bigger together. I felt tears burn my eyes, but I refused to cry. I did tell you. You laughed, mocked me, called me dead weight. His face paled. I'm sorry. I stood there, arms crossed, letting him babble excuses. I offered him no comfort. He was too late. I didn't say yes or no. I just let him sit in that awkward silence, regrets heavy in the air. 2 weeks later, Ryan begged to see me again. I didn't want to go, but curiosity got the better of me, so I met him at a cafe near my new office. He looked nervous, tapping his foot under the table. He started with, Look, I know I messed up, but if I'd known it would be big, I would have supported you. I was just frustrated we couldn't pay rent. I held up my hand. Stop. You never believed in me. Now that I'm selling for 8 figures, you're... What? Suddenly sorry? He exhaled shakily. I told my friend I wished I had backed you, but I was angry and insecure. Now I don't get to benefit. His eyes flickered with regret. And that's fair, I guess. My phone buzzed. The final details of the deal were nearly done. Ryan's face was ashen. He realized there was no turning back. I rose from my seat. I'm finalizing the acquisition. I did this on my own. Ryan swallowed hard. But you're my wife. I shook my head. Not anymore. He looked shocked, anger flashing. Leah. I offered no further explanation. His pleas couldn't erase the damage. I stepped outside, feeling lighter. The next battle was legal, and he was already gearing up for it. A week later, we met again. My lawyer insisted on finalizing a separation agreement. I chose a sleek cafe near my new office, not our usual cheap diner. I wanted the environment to reflect my new life. Ryan arrived looking disheveled, as if sleep had been an afterthought. He tried small talk. You look good. I offered a polite nod. Then the serious conversation began. He said, I'm really sorry. I want to make things right. Maybe we can handle this business arrangement as partners. My lawyer, Angela, slid a sealed envelope across the table. Ryan took it, skimming the pages. His face fell. It contained proof of my sole ownership of the business, the finalized separation terms, and the legal disclaimers stating he had no claim to my brand. His eyes flicked up, desperate. You can't do this. We're married. Angela cleared her throat. All documents show Leah funded and built this business independently. There is no joint marital asset to claim. I stood, smoothing my blazer. You didn't believe in me, Ryan. Now you're not part of the win. My phone buzzed. Angela's assistant whispered that Ryan was attempting to contest the assets in court. He actually filed a lawsuit, claiming the business was marital property. I laughed in disbelief. But inside, I felt a stab of anxiety. Court battles could get messy. Meanwhile, everything else in my life soared. I was featured in Forbes' Under 40 article. A bold headline read, The Secret Success of Leah's Wellness Brand. They snapped photos of me in a bright studio, all confidence and poise. It felt surreal seeing my face in a major publication. Suddenly, my story was everywhere. People loved the angle of a formerly unemployed woman who built a powerhouse behind closed doors. My ex-boss even emailed, I always knew you do big things. Congrats. I sat there smiling at the irony. Ryan's coworkers started whispering when they discovered I was that Leah from the magazine. He tried to act nonchalant, but I heard from mutual friends. He was spiraling, furious at being left out of the fortune. People around him were beginning to question everything he said. The court date approached. I gathered my receipts, LLC papers, and timelines. I wasn't about to let him strip away my hard-earned success. We faced each other in the courtroom. Ryan glared at me like I was the villain, but I kept my composure. My lawyer presented everything. The LLC registration date, well before the marriage issues started. My separate bank account statements, the clear paper trail of my funds. The judge studied the evidence with a measured expression. Ryan's lawyer tried to argue that as my husband, he was entitled to some portion of the business. But the facts were rock solid. Every product invoice, every shipping label, every financial statement was under my name alone. The judge's verdict was swift. Ryan had no legal claim. He walked away with nothing. No share, no ownership. Just a bruised ego and a stack of lawyer bills. My hands shook with relief as I stepped outside. Free. Legally, emotionally, socially, I was free. Naomi cheered, hugging me tight on the courthouse steps. Reporters from local business blogs hovered, snapping photos, hoping for a soundbite. But I just smiled and walked away. The next day, I'd close the final deal, and my life would change forever. I signed the acquisition papers in a glass-walled conference room, the city skyline behind me. The final numbers? Life-changing. I kept a creative director role, ensuring my influence on the brand's future. When I saw the signed checks, I felt both surreal and deeply proud. With part of that money, I bought a house I'd dreamed of for years. Lots of windows, open spaces, a wraparound deck for morning coffee. Standing in that airy living room the first day, I breathed in peace. It was mine. In the following weeks, I launched a nonprofit grant program for women in toxic relationships who wanted to build businesses. I funded scholarships and business mentorship because I knew how it felt to feel trapped. This was my way of giving others a head start I never had. Reports about the brand soared as the new parent company expanded distribution worldwide. My old soaps and aromatherapy kits now sat on major retail shelves. I felt a pang of nostalgia for my garage, but mostly, I felt pride. A text popped up on my phone. Ryan. I debated ignoring it, but a strange need for closure lingered. Ryan's text flashed, I miss you. My stomach flipped, but not with longing, just a gentle sadness for what we once had. In the past, I might have caved. Now I was different. I typed back, I don't, and I blocked his number. It felt final, like clicking shut a heavy door. I refused to let bitterness drag me down. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. That evening, I sat on my balcony, sipping a glass of wine. The sky turned pink and gold. I listened to leaves rustling in a warm breeze. There was no heavy tension in my chest, no dread of judgment or ridicule. I'd reclaimed my life. A chirping notification reminded me I wasn't alone in this journey. My phone constantly pinged with congratulatory messages, invitations to speak at conferences, and more. I felt gratitude swelling inside me. I'd broken free from the label he tried to pin on me. I smiled to myself, remembering his hateful words. Then I said to myself, dead weight doesn't fly. I did.